Sidewinder Graphics is who you go to for all your vinyl and decal needs.
They offer custom vinyl, vehicle decals, wall decor, window decals, stickers, and even yard signs.
Carly Holt is a local race car driver and specializes in race car decals and race car lettering. He also does semis, mopeds, skateboards, bicycles. If it's got wheels, Carly can letter it.
You can contact Sidewinder Graphics by Facebook, or you can visit the Dana and Travis Show's Facebook page, and we will provide links.
That's Sidewinder Graphics. Hey, this is Dana from the Dana and Travis Show. We'd like to thank all of our loyal fans, and if you have any suggestions or ideas for future show topics, you can email us at danaandtravisshow@gmail.com, or you can contact us on Facebook or Twitter. Hope you enjoy the show.
You're listening to a Collapsar Digital Studios production.
Live from Bloomfield, Indiana, you're listening to the Dana and Travis Show.
Greetings and well wishes. I'm Dana,
And I'm Travis.
broadcasting to you live from Collapsar Digital Studios in Bloomfield, Indiana, bringing forth the knowledge of the universe in 60 minutes.
We hope you enjoy the show.
All right, welcome to the Dana and Travis Show, episode 9. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. It's a busy weekend. The work week's just started, and I'm looking forward to the end of it, for sure.
Yeah, it's been never-ending weekends for both of us when it comes to DJing and working some more. And
Yeah, I know, where has the summer went? It seems like we stay so busy, and we just kind of lose track of time. It seems like it's been forever since we've actually done a podcast, so glad to be back with everybody tonight.
yeah, it's been 2 or 3 weeks. So we do have a lot planned for tonight, especially since we've had a buildup of good material.
Yeah, it's
So-
going to be a great show, and hope you all enjoy it. Real quick, if you want to contact us,
You can find us on Facebook, and you can tweet us on Twitter. And if you want to talk to us on a more intimate level, you can either message us at either of those places, and you can also send us an email at danaandtravisshow@gmail.com.
that's correct. And we also want to do a quick shout out for our new sponsor, Sidewinder Graphics. If you have any kind of vinyl needs for any vehicles or race cars, semis, he also does wall decorations. for
T-shirts,
T-shirts. Yeah, just
whatever you want, he can do it.
yeah, be sure to give Sidewinder Graphics a shout. They do good work and they have great prices. I think you can find a link to their Facebook page on our
On the Facebook page.
on our show page. So if you need some vinyl work done, be sure to give Sidewinder Graphics a call.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of people around here who actually do use these stickers a lot, whether it be for farms on like semis or just or I've even seen people do like tractor lettering,
Yeah,
stuff
and also,
like that.
Also, as far as the wall decorations, I know they do a lot of work. Like decorations for children's rooms. Different themes. If you're doing a theme room for your child, so
Just the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
So just contact him and tell him about your project or whatever you want. So be sure to look him up, Sidewinder Graphics.
yes. So Travis, what's new? Anything?
Oh, like I said, just besides us being really busy, I know that it seems like it's always weddings, non-stop weddings.
Yeah, we've had a little spurt of DJing for the last month. Since the 4th of July, we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, my brother got married, and that was, that took up, quite a bit of, didn't take up quite a bit of time.
That weekend
it was anticipated.
Yeah, and that weekend was a doubleheader. We actually DJ'd the night before, so we DJ'd Friday and Saturday night both that week, and Just makes for a long weekend.
Yes, but it was very good. The first one we did, we hadn't done anything like that before. It was a youth rally, and it was really cool. They had a good time, and it was just really nice.
Yeah, it turned out really well. It was down at Vincennes University on campus, so.
Yeah, and we got to drive up on the bricks, and people looked at us weird, and
Oh gosh, yeah, I've never seen so much construction. Every time I turned around down there, it was road closed, one way. I knew where I could see where I wanted to go, just couldn't get there.
yeah, and I was telling Dad, I've been out there since they started all that construction, so I knew how to get around it, without it that beat. But he hasn't been down there in years.
Yeah,
so.
well, and I'm assuming they're probably doing a lot trying to get everything done before the fall school season starts, which is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, they gotta spend that tuition money they're getting from everyone, including from me and you.
Yeah.
And about everyone in Greene County and everywhere else. But anyway, it was a good time, and we're just going. We haven't been to the bookstore lately.
No, we haven't, and
we need to make a trip.
But I know the last time I was there, I've got an excellent read. It's actually about great white sharks.
Oh, how fitting.
Yes.
Since we're on that subject, real quick, let's talk a little bit about your upcoming trip. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you're doing?
Well, I do have another trip coming up here. Clock's ticking. It's counting down pretty quick right now. I'm actually going to
a month away.
Try about 3 weeks.
There you go. 3 weeks away.
Going to South Africa on a shark dive expedition. I'll be the same place where Animal Planet and all the Discovery Channel South Africa shark shows are shot. A place called Gansbaai, which is down the very southern tip of South Africa.
This is the closest he's going to get to Antarctica, that's for sure.
Well, to date. Well, yeah, I'm not done yet.
You heard it right here, folks. He's going to try to go to Antarctica.
But actually, though, this is my first time on the African continent, so it's a new continent for me.
Will there be penguins down there?
There will be penguins.
I want you to take a picture of the penguin for me.
I will. And new continent, first time in the southern hemisphere. I've never left. I've never left the northern hemisphere.
Thailand isn't.
No, you're above the equator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I do have that. Like shark dive. I've got a couple days I'm going to be on safari. That's going to rock.
Oh, man.
It's just going to be a good trip. I got a feeling.
That it's going to be a good time?
No. I got a feeling. Okay, enough of that.
Yeah.
No, but this book, I got just a real quick thing. The book that I'm reading is actually about the great white sharks off the coast of California.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a story about these people that had rehabbed these two elephant seals that had been hit by a boat or something. And this is like back in the 60s.
Those things are mean.
Yeah, but they were small little elephant seals, and they got them all nursed back to health. They spent all this money and time on these seals, and they were looking for the perfect place to release them at. And they thought, what better place than the Farallon Islands, which is a small little rocky bunch of islands 25 miles due west of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. They take them out there by boat. They've got their little name tags on them. And, oh, you're a little fluffy or slimy or whatever they call their seals. They put the first one out in the water. Oh, there you go. And it hadn't been in the water for 30 seconds. And it was bitten in half by a great white. I guess they started.
Wow.
They started crying and carrying on. I don't think they released the other seal. But,
I don't blame them.
But that was in this book that I'm reading, and it said that's the equivalent of nursing somebody back to health with a severely broken leg, and then throwing them off a cliff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's not very good karma at all.
Yeah. So the Africa trip's coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, so you're gonna be staying down there, and do they have hostels down there?
They do. I'll be doing the hostel thing in Cape Town a couple nights. I've got a real nice guest house I'm going to stay at in Gansbaai, so that won't be roughing it at all. on the safari. I think I've got some kind of a little grass hut of sorts out in the plains. I think that they make a fence of thorn plants and shrubs and weeds around it to keep out all the visitors. I'm joking. I don't think they do.
I was gonna say,
But it is a pretty primitive hut type lodging. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to keep everyone updated. I believe we will have one show. Will be our 10th episode.
yeah, we need to do a show before I go and when I return.
Yeah, it'll be the 10th episode, so we should have something special for that.
Yeah.
Don't know what yet.
We'll
but
figure something
you
out.
get to the double digits of the podcast, so that'll be good. But yeah, so it'll be good. I'm looking forward to hearing what the stuff you'll bring back.
Yeah, I will.
And,
I'll have some good stories, hopefully.
The stories. But you know what is going to be a good story?
The main topic of the night.
And now the Dayton and Travis Show presents the main topic of the night.
All right, so here we go. Main topic of the night. We've got kind of a different little topic, subject matter for you tonight. Something a little bit on the mysterious realm.
Yeah, it's something different than what we usually do, and we think you'll all love it.
I think so. It's a story that I come across several months ago, and I kind of became intrigued with it, and I started kind of researching it myself, and I actually ordered a book that completely deals with this incident as a really good book, and we just thought we might share it with you.
Oh, what is that book called?
Dead Mountain.
Cool.
I can't remember the author's name, but yeah, Dead Mountain is the name of the book, and we'll go ahead and get started. Actually, we can kind of call this little episode the Dyatlov Pass episode, and the Dyatlov Pass is actually in the Ural Mountains in Russia, and this story here actually surfaced in the 1990s after the Soviet Union broke up, and we started getting a lot of Cold War type information and stories and files were released concerning the Cold War. Of course, the date that we're talking about is 1959, the height of the Cold War between the United States and the former Soviet Union. And the story itself deals with the perilous journey of 10 young men and women. There was actually 2 women, and initially it was 8 men and 2 women. One of the men got sick and actually had to bow out and return back to their starting point.
So we end up having 9 adventurers altogether in the very end.
And the 10th one was the lucky one.
Yeah.
Because he didn't go.
It's a good thing he got sick. That's for sure.
Yeah, he actually became sick and had to turn back. So this is January of 1959. This group of young people, they were all in their 20s. They were students. They were all very experienced cross-country snow skiers, hikers, adventurers. They were all very competent.
Yeah, very, very smart people. They were involved with the Ural University, I believe.
Yeah, the Polytechnic University.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they were all students there, and the actual the expedition leader was a young man named Igor Dyatlov, which
we all know where the Dyatlov Pass was
so
named after.
Exactly, that's the namesake. So they depart on this long journey into the Ural Mountains in Siberia. They take a train, part of the way, and then they actually hitch a ride on a
truck
in the back of a truck, and continue their journey. And then they're going to be their starting point. The truck took them to the very last outpost before you get into the wilderness.
Yeah, the untravelable land.
Yeah, and that is actually where the one that didn't go became ill and decided that he had not better go any further.
So he was almost right at the point of no return. That's where he had to leave.
So so they begin their journey, and things go well, and they're actually going to this. It was a mountain called Kolat Sayaki, which the the local tribes there are the Mansi tribes, and the name of that mountain in Mansi actually means Dead Mountain, which is again the book that I was reading. So that's actually they were going through this pass to Dead Mountain, and then they were going to go further on, and the initial idea was when they got to their end, their final point, they were supposed to send contact back by telegraph or whatever, that they had succeeded and had taken their journey and everything was well.
The only problem was that they never reached that destination in the end.
Yeah, and of course, obviously they never did reach their end point, and they never did send word back that things were well. So I think 3 weeks after they didn't show up at their checkpoint, the families and everyone involved pretty much demanded that the Russian military send out some kind of a search and rescue and try to find these hikers and skiers. So a expedition is sent out, and of course it was military and police and some other people I think that were just really familiar with the area. They set out in search of these missing hikers, and they come upon the remains of the camp finally after a couple of weeks of searching, and what they found was pretty striking.
So they got to the camp, and the first thing they noticed was that the camp was empty for the most part. So the first thing they noticed was that the camp was pretty much run down. It was not in very good shape. They noticed that the hikers and adventurers' gear, most of it was still inside the tent, and there was more to it. They had there's pictures you can see of it, and you can see what was pretty much left. So look those up.
And from what I read in the book, it was just like they obviously left suddenly. The possessions that were left inside the tent were all just like neatly placed, and it's like where they were getting ready to prepare to something to eat. Their utensils were out.
It was very essential things that they needed.
And what happened that caused them to exit the tent? Obviously, it happened very quick.
Yes. So they noticed that they did some forensic investigating, and they also just did some general investigating, and they came up with the conclusion that the tent that they were staying in was ripped open from the inside. So that means that something was either inside their tent with them, or they heard something outside that caused them to abruptly exit their tent and leave all their stuff behind.
Yeah, and they were shocked to see that most of these shoes were still inside the tent.
Yes, along with clothing and, socks, along with the shoes, food, everything was left in the tent.
And they later determined that the weather on the night that this mysterious incident happened, it was about minus 25 degrees. Blowing snow, just blizzard type conditions.
Yeah, so why you would leave all of your stuff behind, all your food, your clothing, during that kind of weather? I mean, something must have been happening.
Yeah, because again, these were professionals. They wouldn't get shook. They all know they've been in places and had much experience, and they should have been able to anticipate anything and to react to anything. You would think.
Yes. So, during the investigation, they were looking around outside, and they discovered 9 sets of tracks. Yeah. And these tracks were definitely theirs.
Yeah, and the tracks were very odd, though. Some of the tracks were, barefoot tracks. There was another set of tracks that was like one stocking foot and another one with a shoe. One shoe on, one shoe off. Uh, some just in their socks. In minus 25 degrees, snow. And so they started following then the tracks down off of the shoulder of the mountain where they were into like the edge of a nearby woods that led into this valley floor. It was actually on the opposite side of the pass. And that's where they found the first bodies, the first two bodies.
Yeah, and with these two bodies, they noticed that they were right below a tree, and the first things they noticed was that they obviously had tried to start a fire there because there was burn marks in the ground, but they also noticed that they tried to climb the tree that they were under because it was about 6 feet up into the tree. There was broken branches, so they thought that at first they thought maybe they were trying to scout, because they were trying to get up off ground so they can see. But after further forensic testing and investigating, they determined that there was skin embedded in the tree.
Yeah.
So, in order for them to have done that, they must have been frantically trying to get up the tree.
Yeah, and again, really weird. Both of the corpses they found were just in underwear. And nothing else. No other clothing. No type of cold weather, winter gear. Just sitting there dead on the ground in their underwear, barefooted.
Yeah. So that in itself is pretty weird. So you can continue on with the next part of the story.
Okay, so they find those bodies then, and then they continue, I believe, like 300 meters on down. Or actually, it was actually up from the tree. They went back up, and they found the bodies of 4 more, which they assumed that these 4 were trying to return to the tent.
Yes.
And that's where they found those at. They brought the bodies down, and they concluded that those 4 had obviously died of hypothermia. There wasn't any kind of injuries, nothing that would suggest anything except hypothermia.
There was one who did have a small skull fracture.
Yeah.
But they determined that it wasn't anything serious and it wouldn't have caused their death.
Yeah, they said that.
Or wouldn't have caused that person's death.
Yeah, the skull fracture wouldn't have been fatal. So it kind of, the investigation kind of comes to a little stop here. They're still, searching the area. But it wasn't until about 2 months later that they finally found, I think it was like under 4 meters of snow in a ravine, 75 meters farther down into the woods from the cedar tree. They said that the ones they found here were better dressed than the others were, and there were signs that the ones who had died first apparently had given their clothes to the others. One was wearing one of the women's fur coats and hat, and then one of the other individuals' foot was wrapped in a piece of another person's wool pants. So I guess after 1 or 2 had died, they had just kind of cannibalized what they could from the corpses to try to keep, help keep warm. So, like I said, and this is, 2 months later in May. So that they retrieved the rest of the bodies to bring them down for autopsies. And what they found was even stranger yet.
Yes, these what happened to them was much different than what happened to the other bodies that were found. The other bodies were determined that they pretty much died of hypothermia. These bodies, on the other hand, had major trauma impact on the bodies.
Yeah, they said that the injuries, which I think were just pretty much throughout, head, torso, neck, were consistent with like a severe car crash, very violent, high mechanism of injury type episode.
Something that not one person could do to another by themselves.
And strangely yet, one of the females was in that group, and she was missing her tongue.
Yeah, and you want to wonder, like, how do you just lose your tongue?
Yeah.
So
Just very weird scenario. Um, as
So
far as,
all of them are accounted for now.
yeah, all the ones that went are accounted for. You got the other one that stayed behind, who actually, didn't go, who ended up being the only survivor. So now all the theories and uh, ideas about what happened. One thing that was brought up early on that would kind of address the clothing is when people suffer hyperthermia, there's a condition called a paradoxical undressing, where you actually are so cold you feel like you're burning up hot, and you start taking clothes off.
But the only problem with this theory, with this particular story, is that they were putting on other people's clothes.
Yeah, and remember how they exited the tent so quickly. I just can't imagine that they would all come down with this at once, and everybody leave without their shoes on.
Yeah, because it wasn't just a few people. I mean, they all obviously knew something was going down.
Yeah, so that really doesn't quite.
So let's discuss a little bit about what happened afterwards. This story was obviously kept hush because we didn't, us as the people didn't even know about this until the 90s.
Yeah, like I said, the details of this didn't come out to the West until after the fall of the former Soviet Union, in the 1990s. So up until this time, nobody outside of Russia knew of this occurrence. So and they did a continued investigation within Russia that they found from the files and stuff that come out in the 1990s, and they had several theories that they addressed, but the only in the end the only thing that they come up with for a cause of death was a natural
Um, an unknown natural force.
yeah a compelling unknown natural force is what they ended up with.
So whatever that means.
Yeah, but the families of the dead were very skeptical from the very beginning. One of the things that they found, which again highly irregular, they found high levels of radioactivity in the clothing on these people.
On the last ones they found, right?
Yeah, the ones in the ravine.
Yeah. So they found radioactive material on their clothes.
And they said even at the funerals, their skin color was some kind of a eerie tan orange color. Like they'd been sitting in a suntan bed for 3 months.
Yeah, it's a pretty drastic.
Yeah, and how they would come in contact with anything radioactive is well, kind of leads to the next theory that they actually might have stumbled onto some kind of a secret Soviet military test.
Yeah. At the time of when all this was going down, there was another hiking team that was about 50 kilometers south of the Dyatlov Pass, and they said that during around the time that this would have been going on, they noticed some strange orange spheres in the sky around that area.
Yeah,
and these were they said they were very prominent. They noticed them, and they had no idea what they were.
Yeah, and even to this day, there's people have sightings of strange lights in the sky.
Yeah,
in that area.
yeah, to this day. And some of these people, they claim that they might be extraterrestrial, they claim that they might be UFOs.
Yeah,
which is very possible.
Yeah, I mean, they had all sorts of theories. Bigfoot was one, a Yeti, but there were no tracks.
Yeah,
so.
no tracks. There was, and that's another thing. They thought maybe the Mansi tribe didn't like them intruding on their land, so they running them off or tried to attack them. But once again, the only footprints that were found were the hikers' footprints. So, there's some. It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I mean, avalanche. Of course, if there was an avalanche, why was the tent still up?
Yeah, and why weren't some of the other trees buried? Along with why wasn't that whole area just completely gone?
Yeah, so none of those theories, really completely answered all the questions.
No, I don't think they. I mean, the ones definitely died of hypothermia. That's about all they got, but they have no idea what killed the other. What killed the other adventurers?
Yeah, from avalanche to the paradoxical undressing to Yetis, UFOs, military tests.
Secret weapon testing.
Yeah.
Whatever you can think of, it's been thought of.
Yeah.
Because this is so abnormal, they have no idea what could have caused it, and it just goes to show that there are things like this that happen, and we can't explain them. And like I said, I mean, it just goes. These people, they were very professional. These people knew what they were doing. So who knows? Who knows what happened?
The one thing, of course, since people have really started, really diving into this incident, there's one theory that they've kind of thrown out there that probably is the most plausible, as far as maybe from a scientific viewpoint, and that is this area has always, been feared by the local tribesmen, Dead Mountain, and there was just always a place, some place that you do not want to go. So people try to think of some kind of maybe a natural occurrence that would, account for that. And one of the ideas that they come up with was that the winds, passing through those mountains, kind of like blowing across the top of a Coke bottle, making a noise, whistling. It's kind of that principle, only in super low frequencies. I know the military, for many years has made sound guns, to use as a non-lethal force against people, where you can just basically shoot sound waves at people, and it'd make them, nauseous, and it would just pretty much incapacitate you. Well, they think that maybe this might be that very same
type of phenomena.
Yeah, phenomena that's actually occurs naturally.
So basically, it's nature's own natural brown note.
Yeah.
If you know what the brown note concept is.
Yeah, and the theory is, those super low frequencies, they said, it could actually even, drive you insane to where you wouldn't make reasonable decisions, and might cause you to go running out of a tent in minus 25 degrees barefooted.
Well, my only problem with that theory is that them all going through it at the exact same time.
Yeah, and how do you account for the traumatic injuries and the missing tongue?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. Well, and yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, because the injuries, they said that there's no possible way, even if a fight broke out amongst themselves, they said that those injuries could not have been done by another human. It had to be some kind of a really, high mechanism of injury type event, similar to a car wreck.
I don't think they had any firearms on them.
No, I don't.
Or
I don't
anything
think
like
they did.
that. So it's an unsolved mystery. It's something that no one has figured out.
No, to this day.
And here we are talking about it.
So if you get a chance, and
check
you
out
want
the book.
Yeah, the book Dead Mountain is very good.
Who's the author?
I don't remember the author's name. But,
Okay.
I know.
I'm sure you'll be able to find it.
Amazon has it. I got it off Amazon. Dead Mountain, and also there's a lot of really good reference stuff on YouTube that has a bunch of really cool actual photos that they pulled out of the cameras when they found the campsite, that actually shows the people. And to me, it's, if you can put a face with something, it makes it more.
It's a lot easier to understand.
Yeah. So So just get on YouTube and just type in Dyatlov Pass or Dyatlov Pass, Dyatlov, and all sorts of stuff will come up.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed that little story. I think we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with the news.
All right.
Slow motion wave on the ocean stirs my emotion up like a rain cloud. When did the sky turn black? And when will the light come back? A cab driver turned to skydiver, then to survivor, dying to break down. A blood brother, surrogate mother, hugging each other, crying their eyes out. When did the sky turn black? And when will the light come back?
And now the news. Okay, news topics for the night. We've got some pretty cool little news items we're going to run past you.
Yeah, we have several here. Several good ones.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost hard to kind of pick out the ones we wanted to use for tonight. But let's go ahead and get started on that.
All right. I believe you got the first one. We have two from China this week.
Yeah, bubonic plague is back in the news in China, which I had no idea that the bubonic plague was still around, but after further reference, I found out that northern China still has always had a lot of cases of the plague. It is what we used to call the Black Death in Europe. Killed, I think it killed about
It killed 2/3 of the world's population at the time.
A huge number.
So it was a pretty big deal. And today we have a few outbreaks that happen. We have a few instances that happen, but they never become more than just a few instances. But China is not taking any chances.
Yeah, actually, it said that it is still a little prevalent in China. 151 people were under observation in the city of Yumen in China, which they had come in contact with a man who had died of the plague, I think on the 16th of July. So they've got 151 people that I guess they must be hospitalized and they're observing. But that's not the kicker.
They have the entire town sealed off, and the town has 30,000 people in it.
Actually, what I'm reading here says 180,000. And
This was the news story I pulled up. This was about 6 days ago.
Okay.
So
and I think they've got like 10 checkpoints surrounding this city. Basically of thousands of people to try to keep the plague at bay.
Yeah, they said that it first started off with a 38-year-old man, and he died of the bubonic plague after he came in contact with a diseased marmot, which is kind of like a small squirrel type animal.
Kind of like a gopher.
Yeah, and but they also say that fleas can carry the bubonic plague as well.
Yeah, and I had no idea, but I guess last year in Colorado, a 7-year-old girl came in contact with a dead squirrel, and she came down with bubonic plague and survived. So they said that, in the United States it's very rare, but it does happen. They said usually in the Southwest is usually where all the plague cases are from in the United States.
But a little bit on the side, about a year or so ago, Dad and I, we went and seen Drew Hastings at the Comedy Attic, and I remember this woman. I can remember how she brought it up. Drew Hastings asked her
what she did.
Yeah, asked her what she did, and she said that she worked at like the science lab at IU at the university, and she said that they actually had they had an incident like that day or like a couple of days before that, where they broke a vial of bubonic plague in one of the labs, and they said that they had to quarantine the lab and whatnot. And here she is at the Comedy Act telling a bunch of people who probably shouldn't know that.
Yeah, and I don't really want to know that there's the plague, in Bloomington that close. But it was about a month ago. Remember when they were cleaning out the government office and they found the vials of smallpox that they didn't know were there?
Wow.
They really probably should keep track of this stuff a little more.
Yeah, because that would not be good at all.
It's, of course, in North Africa now, we've got a very large Ebola outbreak.
Yeah, and they're afraid it's going to make its way here.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, you better not bring it back. For some reason, people always bring back diseases to Indiana.
Yeah, it's always on them darn airplanes. That's mostly North Africa, but and I didn't know it, but Ebola, I know it's basically, it's not airborne, it's transferred like through perspiration and sweat.
Yes.
And stuff like that, so.
It's listed in like the top 5 worst diseases known to man.
Well, there's no cure for it. And I think
it's brutal.
The mortality rate, I think, though, is people do survive. Because I think
it's like 70%.
Yeah, 70-80% will die. But
well, doesn't it like cause you to bleed from every orifice of your body?
Yes. Yeah, you pretty much hemorrhage to death.
Ugh. I just can't believe that. Well, I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, so, it's, there's some bad stuff out there, and it's, some of us not too far from home.
Yeah.
As we just...
Yeah, apparently.
Said.
Okay, well, so we're still in China. So, there was a story just a couple days ago about another small town in China where a river mysteriously turned red.
I saw that.
Overnight. And no one knew what happened.
Wouldn't that freak you out?
And I was telling some people at work, I was like, I think China has a case of the biblical biblical Egypt going on in China.
I know with with everything else going around in the world today, when rivers start turning blood red, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, but apparently there are stories saying with this river that there was a food coloring factory that was nearby.
I think there was 3 or 4 different industrial complexes. One was like a clothing maker and a paper company and the food coloring manufacturer. So,
but apparently they dumped it in the river thinking that there was this typhoon that was going to come in that was going to...
basically dilute it. They was trying to get rid of it maybe. And then the rains didn't come, And
so people noticed that there was a red river and freaked them all out.
Yeah, so... And we know, China's not real, their environmental policies are pretty laxed. So, it's nothing for somebody to dump something in the river there.
It's every environmentalist's worst nightmare is China.
Yeah.
Do you have another story? Because I have a couple.
You have a couple? Well, the one thing that I was looking at that I thought was kind of interesting, mass coronal ejection.
Oh, yes. If you want to hear a story that's going to freak you out, here it is.
Yeah, and again, why they decided to tell us now, but last week NASA came out with a story that back in 2012, the Earth really dodged a bullet, which a mass coronal ejection, of course, the surface of the sun is the corona, I believe, and every now and then, what they normally call a solar flare, where it spews out all sorts of, radioactive gamma waves and everything.
At a very, very high concentrated energy blast.
Yeah, and super high speed. Well, if it's in the opposite direction of the Earth, it's great. If it's pointed in the direction of Earth, it's like somebody pointing a bazooka at you. And I guess in July of 2012, there was a huge coronal mass ejection that went off, and actually the story that I'm reading said that had it have happened a week earlier, the Earth would have taken pretty much a direct hit, and we would probably to this day still be picking up the pieces had that have hit us.
So what would have happened if it would have hit us?
Just in layman's terms, it would have completely fried our whole power grid, probably in the northern hemisphere.
So it'd been like a giant EMP, but
Yeah.
a worldwide EMP.
Yeah, I mean, they said, depending on where exactly and what angle it hit, yeah, they said it could knock out, the United States, Canada, parts of Mexico, or even more, and we basically would be without electricity for up to 2 years.
Yeah, and a point that Dad made off air is imagine going through last winter without any power whatsoever.
Yeah, all winter long.
I mean, we would all freeze. I mean, we'd have all of us would have froze.
Yeah, if something like that happened, I mean, for one, nobody would be going to work. Oh, for one, because wherever you work at, they don't have electricity either.
Yeah, so the economies, the worldwide economy would have fell. It would have crumbled.
It would have crippled everything, and then of course, people. How much food do you have here in your place, Travis, to last?
Not much.
A couple days.
Not even that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And
everyone would have been running for and you wouldn't be able to pay because most people have debit cards.
Yeah, I mean, well,
and you can't get cash out because none of the ATMs would work.
Yeah, and you ain't gonna call somebody because guess what? Cell phones don't work either.
Your car would probably be fried.
Yeah, and if nothing else, you wouldn't be able to get gas in it because
it'd be like The Walking Dead without
It would be
without the zombies.
Yeah,
everything all destroyed and.
But the thing is,
works.
I was listening to one guy talk about this, and he said that even your most savvy, not really doomsday preppers, because those guys actually do hoard years worth of food. But like you're outdoors and like I can hunt and fish and live off the land. Well, guess what? You probably could, but
so will the
under
other 5 billion people.
Yeah, under normal circumstances you could, but they said that if everybody is, how long would you think it would take to shoot all the deer in Indiana?
Not very long.
Maybe 2 months, maybe, and there wouldn't be a deer left. There wouldn't be a deer, a rabbit, a dog, a cat.
I mean, this is scary. This is how much we've came to rely on technology.
Yeah, so
I mean, if it all went away tomorrow, we'd all be doomed.
Yeah, so, and of course then whenever people get desperate and when people are starving, they become very dangerous. Then you got people kicking your doors down, stealing whatever you've got. So it's scary, and it, like I said, for some reason or another, NASA said, that in 2012 we were almost in that position. But it's something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what's neat though, and this little side story, a similar event like this happened in 1859 in the United States.
What happened?
I had never heard of it. August of 1859, a coronal mass ejection of similar proportions hit the Earth and hit the United States. Of course, 1859. There was no electricity.
Yeah. Or if there was very minimal.
Very minimal. So the actual, it didn't hurt so bad. The impact wasn't that great. But they did say that of course, the main communication was through telegraph at that time. Of course, this is, pre-Civil War. And they said the telegraph lines were actually arcing and sparking and burning. They said that telegraph offices actually caught fire and burned down. And we were hit with this, just a huge magnetic storm. The Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, they said they were so magnified, you could see the Northern Lights from Cuba.
Wow. We can barely see them now.
Yeah, just, every now and then you might be able to see them, and a lot of times that's due to solar activity.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that gold miners actually woke up in like California and started to fix their breakfast because they thought it was daylight, but it wasn't. It was just that bright. And people on the East Coast were actually able to go outside at night and read newspapers.
That's right.
Yeah. So just so that just shows that it has happened before. And not too long ago.
Yeah, it could have happened again, and I mean, it's scary to think about.
Yeah, and actually, that particular incident was called the Carrington Super Flare, which was named after the astronomer that discovered it. So,
Interesting.
1859.
Yeah, even they have our. We still, yeah, just hopefully it never happens again.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna happen. Just
yeah, that's
it's just when. I know that I've heard a lot of people, especially some politicians, talk about how they really want. They said the government is irresponsible. At least the United States government is very irresponsible, and us not making more preparations for something like this.
Yeah, and I heard another gentleman on talk radio that I think in California, the way the whole power grid system is set up, there's substations and there's bigger substations that connect, that connects everything.
Yeah.
And they said that I guess some guy in California just took like a regular hunting rifle and started shooting the transformers out at this one huge substation. And basically they said that terrorists, if they targeted maybe three or four strategic substations, they could put the West Coast out of electricity. And they said, basically what the whole idea behind that was, they said that we need to guard these substations because it's actually would make a heck of a good terrorist target.
Wow. That's not good.
No. And they said right now, you can walk right up to the fence and just, put a bomb or, shoot at them or do anything.
Yeah, it's very irresponsible. I mean,
but there was a time in the world when you didn't have to worry about things like that.
No,
but
sad.
Today it's different.
And it's sad. But
what else do you have?
Here's another story. I mentioned zombies earlier, but we had our own little Walking Dead that happened at this year's Comic-Con in San Diego.
Really?
Yeah. So there was it was a non-affiliated Comic-Con event, which I mean they're not affiliated with Comic-Con, but it goes on around the same time for the nerdy geek culture that a convention or something that was going on it was Comic-Con, but all the geeks were in one spot.
Yeah.
So they all had a Walking Dead walk. So they all dressed up as zombies, and there apparently was a car, and we watched a video of it. And this car was sitting there, and you could tell that the car, they started honking their horns, and the people were out there in the middle of the streets, and someone came up and started kind of banging on their car a little bit.
Yeah, like zombies do.
Yeah, like zombies do. And
brains.
Whether the guy got freaked out or not, I mean, he had a family in his car, and he just laid on the gas pedal, and he ended up running over a 64-year-old woman and ended up breaking her arm, compound fracture.
A 64-year-old zombie.
Yeah, 64-year-old zombie.
Female zombie.
Yeah, but he just full speed ahead and just charged right into this crowd.
But there again, in this day and age, it's just like the guy that got into it with the motorcycles, and run over the guy and killed him. You don't know who's going to jack your car, or if you got your family in your car, and you've got some mob that's right in your windows.
Yeah. Well, another thing that they mentioned is that it was classified a hit and run, but they said it seemed like some eyewitnesses said that it seemed that the family were deaf, and they were also driving, but they were possibly deaf. And another thing that also made this a sticky situation is the fact that since this wasn't an official event,
sanctioned event,
from Comic-Con. This was just its own little thing, and they didn't have any
no
liability or licenses that goes with this thing. And they were
the people that were participating were acting independently on their own.
Yes, so they were expected to follow all traffic laws and all that stuff. And these people were out in the middle of the road, in the middle of the streets, and
Mom always said, "Don't play out in the road."
Yeah, so technically, they were the ones who were not supposed to be out in the street to begin with.
Well, and plus two, I know it varies from state to state, but I know in the state of Indiana, any rude or insolent touching is actually battery.
Yeah. So, I mean, this could have been, I mean, that woman probably could have been, or some of those people probably could have been charged with battery if it was here. But I don't know how things go in California. You know, their laws are all messed up all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But look up the video and you'll see that the car just went full speed ahead into a crowd of people.
Long story short, had those people not been out in the road, they wouldn't have got run over.
Either that or banging on the person's car, looking like zombies, freaking the family out.
Yeah, so I have no sympathy for the zombies.
Nope. Well, I know you have one last story, and I told you about this.
Yeah, this is another Comic-Con story. And
but Dad loves this.
This is probably the most awesome thing that I have heard all week. Comic-Con announced, I believe Cartoon Network is going to have a new cartoon come out this fall on Adult Swim, for the adult
crowd who likes cartoons.
And who would you like to see? What popular, famous person would make a good cartoon character? Any ideas?
Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I mean...
Dolly Parton!
Close. Okay.
Okay, I know what it is.
Yeah, so we'll fill in everybody. Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Now has his own cartoon.
And it's awesome.
They showed the trailer at Comic-Con, and I believe you can probably go on YouTube, check it out, Mike Tyson cartoon. It's just the most awesome thing I've ever seen. It's not this new computer animated garbage. This is the old school Scooby-Doo type animation. Classic Saturday morning cartoon animation.
And it's Mike Tyson, and it's like Mike Tyson Mysteries or something like that.
The Mike Tyson Mysteries. And it's kind of loosely based on a Scooby-Doo concept. He's got a couple of companions. He's got some kind of a British-looking Lord Canterbury ghost-looking guy.
Oh, instead of a dog, you have a pigeon.
No, you have an alcoholic pigeon.
An alcoholic pigeon.
Who in the little trailer that I heard, the pigeon's voice is strangely reminiscent of Kevin Nealon from Saturday Night Live. So we'll see about that. I didn't see that, but sure sound like Kevin Nealon to me. And then he has, did you know, Mike Tyson has an adopted Korean daughter?
I did not know that.
Yes, who looks strangely
like the girl,
like Velma off Scooby-Doo.
Wow, that's crazy.
So you've got the little adopted Korean daughter, the ghost, and the alcoholic pigeon, all riding around in a Scooby-Doo Mike Tyson van,
solving mysteries.
That is must-see TV.
And of course, it might be Mike Tyson who's doing his own voice because it sounds like Mike Tyson.
Oh gosh, yeah, the voice is just awesome.
Merry Christmas. Because he can't pronounce his S's. It's Merry Christmas.
Can we get some audio off this, you think? Some Mike Tyson audio?
Possibly.
Let's see here.
Here's a audio clip from it. Well, or maybe. Yeah, here's an audio clip from it right now.
Every one of them has a message from someone that needs the help solving the mystery. Oh man, it's so dark. I can't see my hand in front of my face. Oh!
It's the chupacabra! He beat me with his mouth! Oh!
Michael, why are you smiling? Because now I know what I have to do. I'm going to use my fist to beat the out of Chupacabra, the only thing I've never beaten the out of yet.
I haven't been sleeping well.
Why haven't you been sleeping well? It's because you're a ghost and you can see through your eyelids?
No, I just find I can't turn my brain off at the end of the day.
You know, I lie there worried about the dumbest things. It's ridiculous. And the next day I'm tired and a bitch. Everyone around me. And,
I don't know how I feel about you going away to college.
Well, we have to talk about it at some point. I'm 18.
18? Where did the time go? I remember it like it was yesterday. You were just a little baby, but you told me, stop living for yourself.
Who is my mother, and why did she leave me on Mike Tyson's doorstep when I was a baby?
Probably because she didn't want you. There, mystery solved. What is this?
Guys, do you remember what we're here for?
All right. Well, that's a little. That's about the best we could do when it comes to the audio clip.
I'm telling you, that Kevin Nealon, that's got to be Kevin Nealon.
I really want to watch it.
Watch it. I want to own it and watch it over and over.
Like I said, when I told you that they were making a Mike Tyson cartoon, you're like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, I actually thought he was joking, but no, it's true.
Yeah, and he kind of looked at me like, "Oh, no, Mike Tyson cartoon." Then he watched the trailer and he got sold on it. He's like, like, "This looks awesome."
But now, and even we all know this is an adult-oriented cartoon, but we're talking ear-biting, felony rape convicted.
Yeah, but
Mike Tyson.
He's trying to turn his life around. I've listened to several interviews with him.
I know, but
and he's completely sober now.
I just kind of feel like this is a very sad commentary on our society. Is this where we're at now?
Well,
we're watching cartoons of Mike Tyson.
Well, why not?
No wonder Putin laughs at us.
Well, hey, come on. Mike Tyson, he has a good right arm.
Iron Mike.
But no, seriously, like in one of the interviews he had, he explained how, probably him going to prison was probably one of the best things that ever happened to him, because he said that if he not, he probably would have ended up dead.
Yeah, and
it gave him a chance to turn his life around.
I know you're a little young to remember. I remember when all that stuff went down, and it went down in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I felt like he just wasn't given a lot of guidance. I mean, at that time he was still kind of a young guy, and of course he had lots of money. He had fame, and
well, in the interview I heard with him, Adam Carolla asked him. He's like, Mike, he's like, why couldn't you just shut your mouth while you were in the courtroom? He's like, they were willing to work with you. He's like, they were willing to to be more lenient on you. He's like, but you just couldn't keep your mouth shut. Would you think things would have been different if you not done that? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was stupid and dumb back then. He's like, and I had a lot of pride. He's like, I didn't want to be in there to begin with, because he said he didn't rape the girl. He didn't, and he said, but he ended up there and he made some bad decisions. But he said ultimately, oops. But he said ultimately it was probably the best thing that could have happened to him, because he would have probably still been in drugs, and he probably would have still been in bad stuff had he not.
Well, and I wish him well. Like I said, I kind of feel like he did kind of get a little bit of a ramrodded through that whole ordeal, but I don't know.
But anyway.
And then there's the tattoo.
Yeah,
I like the tattoo.
I like the tattoo. I mean, it looks good on him. I don't think it works on anyone else.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, the Hangover movies, kind of revitalized his career. And
yeah, and I mean, if it wasn't for that, I mean, I know he started doing stand-up comedy. He started going around the country. I know he made a couple stops in Indianapolis. I know he did that at the Murat.
Really?
Yeah, he did some live stand-up there. And
remember when he was doing the comedy roast? Was they roasting William Shatner?
I don't know.
And Steve-O took a punch in the jaw from Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He didn't do it once. He did it twice.
Yeah, because I think the first time it was kind of a glancing blow maybe or something, but gosh.
The second time, he's like...
Blacked his eye.
He's like, give me all you got. And Mike Tyson, he bring her up, and he just punched him right in the face.
And you'd expect no less from Steve-O, so.
Nope, not at all. Well, Dad, that's a show.
It is.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't. That's
We went through a lot of stuff.
cool. I completely lost track of the time.
I know. We're at that time.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed all of our stories and.
Like I said, we had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, heck yeah.
We had some of this, backing up,
Yeah, and
for a little bit.
And I do want another shout out for our good friends at Sidewinder Graphics. Again, if you need any decal work done, vinyl work, T-shirts,
Lettering.
Yep, let Sidewinder Graphics help you out.
Once again, you can find a link to his Facebook page on our Facebook page. And while you're at it, why don't you just click the share button and share our page with all of your friends, and then tell them to like us, and tell them to share that with their friends.
That would rock.
Yes, it would. And yeah, maybe one of these days we can get Sidewinder Graphics to make us some stickers and stuff so we can give out to people.
Definitely, and we'll try to get on that. And again, we'll try to get one more podcast in before I go on vacation, and I'm really getting excited. So I'll have some good stories for you from that.
And I think while Dad's gone, I might try to set up a podcast, with a guest or something. I'm gonna really try, because I really want you all to have a podcast, even when he's gone. So be looking out for maybe a special guest. I'm not sure who would do it yet, but yeah, you never know.
I'm sure you can find somebody.
Yeah, I can pull someone out of the woodwork.
All right then.
All right.
Well, let's wind her down then. Until next week or until next podcast, we're gonna get on out here right now. But until then,
You be careful now.